The year is 1800. Baltimore has established itself as a booming port city. Many mills were being built along the Jones Falls River, producing flour, powder, and sailcloth. At the same time, Baltimore's trade was expanding with the construction of the B&O Railroad in the 1830s. In 1889, Bethlehem Steel opened its plant in Sparrows Point, or referred to the locals as the Point. This was a booming industry providing many locals with unskilled job opportunities. By the mid 20th century, more than 30,000 families relied on Bethlehem Steel wages for their livelihood. It provided many people with sustainable jobs and opportunities that allowed the city to thrive. Fast forward to the 1980s, and now steel production is on a decline, as indicated by the graph. Unskilled job prospects are also decreasing. This plus the trend towards suburbanization pulled a portion of the tax base out of the city, further weakening Baltimore's neighborhoods. And by the late 1990s, the once vibrant city neighborhoods were plagued by violence, crime, and drug addiction. By 2012, the once prosperous Bethlehem Steel closed its doors for good, leaving fewer than 2,000 jobs. With the stage now set, let's take our focus to a small community in Baltimore City, one of the many neighborhoods that was affected by the decline of blue-collar jobs over the century. In the same way that Baltimore has constricted in its population, Johnston Square has as well due to crime, food deserts, and redlining practices. So we know that Johnston Square is having some issues. Let's try and see if we can find out just how bad they are. So in 2018, Baltimore had a population of about 620,000 people. Johnston Square had a population of about 2,000 residents. Of the 2,000 people, Johnston Square has about 200 people in their 20s. Of them, 40% or 68 people are unemployed. These stats are kind of alarming as they show that something is going on with the employment as it relates to the young adults in Johnston Square. Let's see how Johnston Square stacks up against Baltimore City as a whole. And by the way, this is a picture of a once prominent restaurant in Johnston Square. We'll let you guys look into what happened with it. Okay, so 39.9% of Johnston Square residents aged 25 to 64 years are employed, compared to 54.7% in Baltimore City as a whole. And the overall unemployment rate is also higher in Johnston Square, with 12.2% versus 7% for Baltimore City. What's really striking, however, is the significant percent of working adults in Johnston Square that are not in the labor force, 48.9% versus 38.3% for Baltimore City. This means that almost half of Johnston Square residents were so discouraged by the prospects of finding employment that they stopped looking and dropped out of the labor force altogether. And not only are the employment and unemployment statistics worse in Johnston Square versus Baltimore City, but so is the median household income. In 2016, the median household income in Johnston Square was $36,000, whereas for the city, the median was $48,000, a 25% difference in income. So we ask the question, well, one of the reasons could be the fact that the Baltimore Penitentiary is closer to the Johnston Square Elementary School than any library. Or maybe it's something else. Maybe it's the fact that the Johnston Square Elementary School performs significantly below the state average. As measured by the MCAP, the Maryland Comprehensive Assessment Program, formerly known as the PARCC assessment, only 1.6% of students in grades 3 to 5 at the Johnston Square Elementary School met or exceeded the expectations for grade level learning in mathematics in 2019. Likewise, as measured by the MCAP, only 1.7% of students in grades 3 to 5 at Johnston Square Elementary School met or exceeded the expectations for grade level learning in English language arts in 2019. Houston, we have a problem. The community wants a change. The community needs a change. We were fortunate enough to interview Rebuild Johnston Square, who has accepted this call for change and reignited the community by spearheading projects such as park cleanings, affordable housing, apartment complexes, urban gardening, farmer co-ops, and more. They provide these services for the community, with the community to keep Johnston Square moving in the right direction, all of which are discussed at their monthly community meetings. Rebuild Johnston Square also gave us insight on what the community wants and needs. These include gainful employment, higher median income, increased home ownership, improved Johnston Square Elementary School performance, more city amenities, more green spaces, more foot traffic, and of course, a thriving community. But even with all these advancements, there are still gaps between what the community wants and what is available. Building off the movement that Rebuild Johnston Square has started, we hope to enrich Johnston Square by filling in these gaps. These gaps include the lack of basic math and literacy skills, which hinder employment, and that there appear to be resources available. However, the people who can benefit from these resources are either not aware of them or the use of them is misdirected. We aim to bring together the disparate stakeholders, many of which will have different levels of interest, power, or influence. These stakeholders include the residents, the businesses, the government officials, nonprofits, and the school system. This way, those with a high interest but low power and influence can grab the ear of those with low interest but high power and influence, such as the residents of Johnson Square. They are directly affected by the problem of low standards of education, and knowing that they have high interest but low power, they will be very excited to engage with the entities such as the government, who may have high power but low interest. After listening to the community, we hope to satisfy the stakeholders' unfulfilled needs by empowering the local residents of Johnson Square to uplift their community via education and job skill development, one child at a time. For these reasons, we'd like to introduce our initiative, Enrich Johnson Square. The Enrich Johnson Square program is for the residents of Johnson Square who need employment opportunities and job skills. The program is a community-based, nonprofit, after-school program providing educational and job skill services via mentors and role models within the community. Our program leverages local residents, empowering them to take initiatives and help to progress the community, as they are intimately familiar with the needs of their own community. Let's compare our program versus two of the largest after-school programs in Baltimore. Both the Y After-School program and our program are in the community, and their locations are easily accessible to school children. Similar to Enrich Johnson Square, the Y program helps fill the need for role models in the community. Our program is similar to the Living Classrooms program in its focus on academic achievement and job development. What distinguishes our program from the Y and the Living Classrooms program is that it is developed by community activists and thus it is more aligned with the actual needs of the community. Additionally, our program engages parents so that what is learned in the program is also continued at home. Put simply, our goal is to provide a quality after-school program in Johnson Square that keeps kids engaged, helps them develop basic math and language skills, and empowers them to find gainful employment in the future. Our goal determines the resources we will need to obtain and highlights potential barriers for implementation. Our goal will guide our day-to-day operations, which in turn will be focused on utilizing the resources we have and eliminating the barriers for success. Our resources determine what activities we can offer. The activities we offer determine our results, composed of outputs and outcomes. These outcomes, in turn, determine the impact to the community as a whole. As our impact shows a tangible, visible effect on the community, that in turn will encourage more resources for the program. We will evaluate our program using short-term and long-term goals. Both will utilize existing data and surveys to determine how they are progressing. In addition to those, for the short term, we will use a fall and spring test to evaluate the effectiveness of our program within one school year. We will know the program is effective if we see an increase of 25% in the spring scores compared to the fall scores. As with any new program, we expect hiccups in the first year to work out the kinks. Year 2, we hope to refine our program and then see results begin to show by year 3. For the long-term measurement, we will follow up in 15 years to check on employment prospects for the first cohort. We hope to leverage the existing kids in the program to become tutors for younger children also. In order to implement our business model, we will set up our program as a nonprofit organization to be able to fully leverage available grants and tax exemptions. We will do this by first establishing our board of directors. These will be members of the community and ourselves. In order to obtain these community members, we will need an outreach lead. This outreach lead will partner with Rebuild Johnson Square and help reduce skepticism by the community for our program. Then we will need to partner with school administration to gain their buy-in to the program and their support. They can help us find tutors and social workers for the after-school program. The school will also provide our location for the after-school program and help us create educational material. Lastly, and the most difficult part, will be to obtain fundraising. We will need to obtain grants and attempt to build an endowment from the community so that our program can grow in staffing of tutors. The program appears to be feasible from a community perspective. The program will engage Johnson Square's community leaders and collaborate with them to improve students' test scores and math proficiency and literacy rates. And the program will engage parents by inviting them to fun family events via a weekly newsletter on the theme of the week. From a market perspective, there are many options to finance the program through local, state, or federal grants for after-school type programs. And local businesses would be happy to engage with possible young workers and provide training to them at an early age. There will be some challenges we will need to overcome, such as the difficulty of finding qualified tutors to teach in the program and keeping parents engaged. Although there are resources available, it may take up to a year to go through the grant submission process and secure the funds. We are not discouraged by these challenges. As we saw firsthand, Johnson Square and its community are willing and able to rise to the challenge and overcome these obstacles. Our program is inspired from three main characters in The Wire. First, Wallace. He tutors his younger brother with his math homework, highlighting the need for better math skills and the importance of relating material to the culture of the locals so it can be better understood. Second, Dennis Cuddy Wise. He creates an after-school boxing program to give the kids something to do rather than get involved in the drug game. He is told that by not giving up on the kids, it messes with their minds because everyone else has given up on them, highlighting the importance of being involved in the community. And finally, Roland Presbalewski. He became a teacher after being a police officer. As a teacher, he went above and beyond and tried to be a role model for the students by providing for them a good example and more than just an education. He highlighted the importance of good role models in the community. The year is 2020. Baltimore and Johnson Square are up and coming. Enrich Johnson Square hopes to be able to work with the existing programs and become a catalyst to get this community back on the map. We look forward to the future of Johnson Square.